I'm a diamond drilling roughneck working nowhere near a town. When I get out, I'll scream and shout hell by the bar around. A diamond drilling roughneck working all year long. It's time to raise your glasses to the diamond driller song.
Happy hose line day, Brent.
How you doing, partner?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Yeah, so that was actually a pretty good good video to wake up to in the morning. I was driving to work and Brent texts me here and I got a video of him. He's doing hose line. And how much did you have there?
We had I think 60, it'd be 6,200 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there were actually there was about 8 lengths laid and water was running, so it wasn't a little bit was done anyhow, but
No, okay.
long ways.
How cold did it get? Like, was that did they do something really stupid there, or just? I know it's been super cold down there. It was like -7 or something here today, and then -4. So we're like living it up here.
It's you know what, man? It was like the last day here of a cold spell. It's like tonight, and that's it, and it just had to happen.
Did you get to -40?
Yeah, there was a few days there was 44 or something, or 43. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
just beautiful out. Beautiful.
No, it's funny. It's not even your drill that you're doing it on. That's a
no, just helping the old guy out. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to bring him on the podcast so you can show his gratitude.
Yeah, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we'll head right into some ads here. So we got some sponsors on the show. So everybody watching, you could have your logo up here. It'd be super famous too. So
yeah,
get into her.
Sponsored by Foss Well Drilling. This one, Foss Well Drilling is family owned, operated, offering residential water well and geotechnical services. Licensed to operate in Ontario, Manitoba, and Quebec. Check them out at www.fosswelldrilling.ca. That's that one.
Right on. We should be throwing up the, even if people aren't hiring, just the email, like just hammer the resumes to them.
Yeah, just give them a hard time nonstop. Yeah.
It's probably a good way to have people not sponsor whatsoever.
Yeah, and change their phone number.
Yeah, we're giving all those tips last episode with Devin Rank about like changing your name and reapplying to companies. We're giving all the tricks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So our next sponsor, actually, Top Rank Diamond Drilling. They're based out of St. Rose, Manitoba. Their website is toprankdiamonddrilling.ca. They specialize in skid, fly drilling, been around for a long time. Great group of guys. Brent actually worked there as well. But if you want to learn more about Top Rank, the best way to do it would be to watch the last episode. I think episode 4. We have the owner Devin Rank on there, and I don't think they actually have like a real catchy, like a catchphrase. But I'd be all about the Top Rank. Like, we're top ranked. We're top ranked in the driller or in the list of top ranked drillers.
It's a taker. It's a taker right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe as we go here, if they keep sponsoring, we'll think of something for them.
Yeah.
But I suppose you could say the main sponsor that we got going on is these guys now, Alpha Drilling. So this is our guest on the show. We'll bring him in here. He's patiently waiting. Jason,
what's going on, guys?
How you doing, partner?
No, not bad. Not bad.
Were you able to see that sweet logo flashing here?
Yeah, that's a nice one.
So where'd that one come from?
Well, I don't know if you noticed it, but see how like the 2 A's, they kind of come down a little bit. Does that remind you of something?
Nope.
No? little Metallica.
Metallica. I was gonna say Metallica. I didn't want to sound like an idiot if you said no.
Yeah. Not that it was completely stolen, but when it lined up, I was like, fuck yeah.
That's sweet.
That was like back in the day, the Element logo too. I'm like, seriously?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I had this
Yeah.
on a skateboard.
Yeah, skateboarding days.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Ryan probably put it on one too. He's like, yeah, that looks sick. I'm just gonna use that.
That looks good. Looks a little familiar, but it looks good.
Yeah, all the work is done. Perfect. Yeah. So I guess first of all, let's just ask kind of what's going on with you. It's kind of a quiet time out there. Are you guys working, or what's the main focus?
It is a quiet time, and it has kicked off to a slower start than we wanted. But we're getting lots of stuff done here in the shop. We got new drill shack being built. She's almost done. We're just about to paint her. So yeah, it's she's brand spanking new, man. It's just kind of we custom made it ourselves the way we wanted. A lot of the gear that we had over the summer, the guys like to put some wear on it, so everything got all tuned back up for the summer, and it's looking like it's going to be a busy summer. So make up for it then, right? Plus this minus 35 can eat it.
Yeah, you'll be in the same boat I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, coiling hose line. No, thank you.
Yeah.
That'll be really nice too with the brand new drill shack. As soon as you get it out there, like it's obviously gonna look really nice coming out of the shop. I just hate to be like the first guy moving it or the first guy who puts a little scratch in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But then the pressure is gone, anymore. Yeah, once you get one hole, it's like the pressure is off. Like someone scratched it or dented the door, drove the dozer blade right into the side.
Yeah,
a dent or a scratch, but not a hole. That's a little excessive.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's steel shack, or are you doing plywood on the outside?
Steel shack, and she's got nice little windows, so you're not feeling like you're contained.
Yeah, okay.
It's nice. It's a sweet little setup, man. It's a little different, but it'll be cool.
Well, if they drive the dozer blade through, you can always just take that panel out and grab a piece of like 3/4 inch and throw it up. And
definitely, yeah.
No one will know.
Put another window in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess before we move too far, just for people that don't know you, kind of just tell us like what you do now, how you got into the industry, I guess.
Yep. Well, I think you did introduce me, right? Jason Medwid. Been in the industry 20 years. I think it was 2005 when I started. Must have been 16, 17 came on. First job was underground, and it stole my heart. That's where I've been ever since. But obviously not underground, because that would be too much. But
lots of guys started underground. You did too, Brent, right? Or is that Grant?
No, I started underground. I think Grant did too.
Yeah. That's wild. Where was that, Jason?
That would have been Afton. Out by Kamloops. Yeah. That was back with Boyvenue before it was Atlas.
Okay. You're an old man now. I keep forgetting we're like the same age, so I like to, when you tell a story about being old, I'm like, ugh, geez.
I know how that comment I made before. When we look back when we were younger, we're not young anymore, man.
I tell everybody I'm young. I don't care. We were literally just saying that at work today. We're talking about some guy, and he's like, "Yeah, well, he's not a spring chicken." I'm like, "Well, I don't know about that."
And I think when you start out, especially as underground, it's a different atmosphere, right? And then when you go on surface, you appreciate that. You're like, "Oh, sun! I'm in an open shack. This
different
is actually
places.
Pretty freaking sweet."
Yeah, absolutely.
There's got to be some guys who bounce back and forth, I would think, like winters down underground and surface in the summer.
I mean, there is a lot of guys that love underground that generally just want to stay underground, and I could see it for the cold seasons. Definitely, why not go underground? But I think I got a lot of underground in the summertime when it was nice, and it was just terrible.
Yeah,
Like,
depression.
I don't know. Yeah, dude, that kicks in, especially after
Yeah.
like 3-4 years of underground straight. You're like, I'm done.
Yeah, and
I'm
then
staying on
you
surface.
go underground when it's dark, and then you come up when it's dark. So you do a month straight with no daylight, right?
Yeah.
In the wintertime,
Yeah.
like it's crazy.
Yeah, we had this one job where it was that's exactly what it was. And I was always getting sent back to that job. Middle of summertime, it was June, and I was coming out, and the portal was at like 7,200 feet, and it would be snowing, and it's dark, and it's snowing, and it's June, and my girlfriend's back home having the time of her life, and I'm just,
Yeah,
stuck there
I
day
know
after
exactly
day.
what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, depressing is to say the least.
I thought time stands still when you're at work. I thought
For you,
everyone's
it
just
does, but not for
sitting
the
at home. They're waiting for you to come back.
yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, man, that's jumped around, been with a few companies, but started up Alpha in 2020, right when the whole COVID took off. And so it was kind of a slow progress on that one, but the next few years she took off, and now she's 3 drills strong, and she's she's making some traction.
Nice. How did you like? I know like you started underground, but how exactly did you get into just diamond drilling?
Well, a lot of my family, my dad's side, works the diamond drills. I'm sure a few people are familiar with the Medwid name. So, yeah, that's kind of how I started on. And yeah, worked with a few people that he knew, and companies that he worked in the past. And that's pretty much how I jumped on.
I figured the area you're from, you'd be just born on a drill. You're just like, well, I'm here already. You might as well make some money.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Pretty much. That's all you heard of, growing up and seeing the old man's Connor bags coming in and him unloading them and pulling out little stripper freaking cards and go hide this, don't let your mom see it,
Yeah. I got a buddy, that big they made that big Harley's sticker. They probably still have them, but like a real big one for like a fridge or whatever. I don't know, they probably charge like $50, $60 for this big sticker, and he brings it home and he's like all jacked up about it. And he's gonna hang it up somewhere, and his old lady's like, "Oh, what's Harley's?" And he just said, "Oh yeah, it's a stripper bar." She's like, "Get that out of here." And now I got it, actually. It's at my print shop hanging on the fridge.
Yeah.
So I guess just sticking with it's always funny, interviewing, because I'm from Manitoba too, interviewing like you and Devin and stuff. It's always like, oh, how'd you get into the industry? It's like, I was from Manitoba.
Yeah.
What else was I gonna do?
Yeah, pretty much, man.
Yeah. Do you maybe you could kind of walk us through. So you get in as a helper, you're underground in Afton. How long, like where'd you kind of move to, and then how did you, I guess your kind of timeline, how long do you spend drilling, and what made you as a helper to be like, yeah, I'm ready for the sticks and take over. And then obviously you've done all the positions, you're running something now, but yeah, kind of walk us through that. It's always interesting, and tell us the embarrassing stories too, because I like those ones.
Yeah, no, those are good ones. All right, I got a few of those. Well, I guess it started Afton underground. Bounced around a little bit on surface after that. And it was back then, a helper had to have a 5-year minimum before he was even, looked at to go drilling. And so I didn't expect to go drilling anytime soon. And I think I was in like 2 years or something like that. But yeah, I helped Jeff, the owner of Atlas Drilling, Jeff and Jamie, I used to help him back when he was driller and supervisor for Boyvenue. And so that's when they finally turned it over to Atlas and they became Atlas. I was helping there, and I think it was like on year 2. And there's a lot of lot of guys that wanted to go drilling that were, you know, I want to go drilling, I'm going to go drilling and all this stuff. And they're asking the foremans and all that stuff. And I don't know, man, I was cool with the crowbar spooling wireline. I enjoyed it. I liked the workout. I could just zone out and enjoy my day, you know. And it was, I think we were running an old 38. Yeah. And we were on night shift. And my driller, he used to have a little bit too much fun. So nighttime, he'd be really tired. And so he'd be falling asleep at the sticks. And then, so I'd go over there and I'd chuck up for him and he'd open his eyes and he'd kind of give me that wink. And then after a while of me doing that, he would come in and I'd pull a tube. Cause those days you'd pull your tube out and then you'd empty it outside. And so I'd freaking drill my run down. And then he could hear me, you know, getting ready to pull the tube. So he'd come inside because he was going to sleep in the truck. And so after he got comfortable, right, he was like, then first he'd sleep inside the shack there on the bench. And then after a while, he's like, well, I'm just going to go crash in the truck. And then every time I pull a tube, he would come in, we'd pull the tube. I'd empty my tube as fast as I could so I get back on those controls. And it was fun. Like I wasn't expecting to go drilling over it. But yeah, it was I remember the foreman, he was coming back down from the mine and we were just drilling off the road and I was spooling wireline and he looked at me and he's like, are you getting tired of spooling wireline? I was like, fuck no, man. I loved it. Like I said, I love that workout, that upper body workout, right? And yeah, no, it was kind of funny that evening in the dry. He asked, he's like, oh, so you think you could drill on that machine? And I was like, well, I have. Like, I don't know if I run it myself. But there's a couple other drillers that I helped, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he can run it," you know. So yeah, he ended up putting me drilling there, which was kind of cool. And then I think it was my 18th birthday that year, and we were at the bar, and I remember him asking me, he's like, "Oh, so how old are you turning?" Because everybody knew it was my birthday. I'm like, 18. He's like, "What?" He's like, you're 18 and I put you drilling? Because like I said, it was a minimum of 5 years. So I think he thought I had a lot more time. Like I was only in 2 years. And yeah, so there's that. But I got an embarrassing one too.
So you're 16 when you started doing that?
I wasn't 17 quite.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, dude.
That makes you sound like such an old man.
Dude, I
always heard stories like, yeah, he started when he's 15. I'm like, fuck, you'd be in jail now if you were trying to do that.
Yeah, no doubt.
I did seismic when I was 14. I had to get a parent's permission slip so I could go up to the bush and work doing seismic. 16-hour days, nonstop, dude. I did 6 months straight back then. I was just a young kid, and the $8 an hour, my paychecks were. I was ready to quit. I was like, you know what? If my paycheck's not over $1,000, I'm done. I'm out of here. I got my paycheck was $1,600. I was sold. Stayed there 6 months straight.
Yeah.
And I heard it's funny. Like obviously the money's, especially when you're that young, any money is good. I remember having like $100. I'm like, holy shit, taking over the world. But some guy, like I never did seismic myself, but I always heard like guys actually they pull in quite a bit of money, but they work solid like
6 months straight. Yeah, you can do at least 6 months straight running behind a tandem or whatever, right? Back when I did it too, you could stay up there for months at a time.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Huh. Yeah, it was good. It was good. They fed you, they gave you a place to stay, and they filled up your bank account. That was something I wasn't used to. I was just a little punk kid, man. So it was good. It was good. It was really cool. And you're 16 hours a day, man. You were just out in the bush, dude. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Back to your camp, smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. Oh,
16, 17 years old. Like, yeah.
Just felt like a highballer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Come on with a pocket full of money because you're not spending anything out there when you're doing that long. And then you're way, way up north. Like, that was cold. That was long, but I freaking enjoyed it. I loved it, man.
Yeah.
But no, there's kind of a funny story. I do tell it every once in a while. When I was just a helper, I was, I was still a couple tours in, right? And so my driller is trying to teach me stuff at the time, and he's like, make sure you're checking those core springs, and always check your core springs every run. You got to check it. You got to check it with a piece of core, this long, like that one there. And he pointed to one in the box. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I got it. So I checked my core spring, and I put my piece of core on the side, and I check that core spring every single time with that piece of core. And at the end of the day, he goes, "What the fuck is that core from?" I'm like, "That's the core you told me to check it with." Fuck, did he shake his
That's
head, man.
awesome. Yeah. Holy fuck. Yeah.
It'd be funny you still, and you're like, and it's right here. I
Still got it.
Still
Still got
if I
it.
was drilling, I'd be like, fucking take it home, man. Like,
Yeah.
you already ruined it.
Put it in the fucking bag. Yeah.
It was probably the
Nothing.
shiniest piece too.
Yeah, it's all scarred up on the side. Oh, that's funny. You know, somebody got me with the what was it? My first job, like we were drilling for diamonds. So in this kimberlite, and I'm 18 years old. I don't really even care what we're doing out there either. I was just told like, hey, you're going to work. So we do kind of fucking around for like 2 weeks before like the drill. We arrive before the drill, get it all ready for this mine and fly it out. So now we're into the hole, and then they hit the kimberlite, and we show up on shift. And it's I mean, I'm 18, so everyone's quite a bit older than me, and walk in there and they're bullshitting, having cigarettes, and the guy's like, yeah, like, man, when you get into this stuff, it's super heavy. I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, fuck, have a lift. But I'm like, about like 4 feet away. So I just kind of like half-ass lean over and put my finger under the box and go to lift, and like, holy shit. And then I grabbed it and lift the whole core table up, and like they had screwed it down. And I like everyone's kind of laughing, you know, everyone's seen this stupid little thing, but it made me so fucking mad. I was mad for the rest. I did a 6-week hitch. The first one, I was so pissed off. I feel like even tours after, and being like a young kid, it's like, oh, how can I, you know, that's a minor thing that he did, but you're like, how can I fuck this guy over? And I was like gonna put Puravis in the shampoo. I always thought that would have been like a really crazy one. And my driller's like, no, don't do that. Like, just I don't know, he made a fool of you. It's just funny.
Yeah, but you do take it very personal though, man. I noticed that too. Like I swapped, you know, jumped over to rigs for oil rigging and stuff like that, and they kind of play that game with you. And everywhere you go, and you're gonna get that game no matter what. If you're a rookie, it's happening. It always just hits a little different, you know.
Yeah.
Where you you just want to choke that little fucker, but you know you do it yourself too, right?
Yeah,
that's
well,
right.
it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, you know, on an oil rig, like when I was working, you'd have like 5 guys on a crew, and they're kind of moving in like that 6th guy, a couple roughnecks at that point. But that's the thing, you're getting it from all angles. Like if you're brand new, like obviously the driller's picking on you, the consultant probably is as well, or the tool push, maybe the consultant, depending who he is. Like you're everywhere you go, you're getting it from all angles. But when you're on a diamond drill, especially if it's like just the driller making fun of you and you're on night shift, you're like, man, you're the only other guy out here dragging on me. Like I think that's why it just cuts deeper.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so I don't know where we kind of left off there. Like you said, so you just started drilling there when they gave you the shot. Like how long did you do that before kind of progressing, or how'd that first shift go, I guess?
It was pretty good. You know, I mean, I can't say it was pretty good. What they did was they put me drilling and they put another guy drilling, and the guy had more experience than me because I was helping him prior. But dude, did we butt heads? And it was on same kind of stuff, right? Like this guy left me a smoke bit down the hole, and you know, he wrote on the ram, he wrote something on the ram, so when you come on, it's chucked up, and you're like, that son of a, you know. And so it was just like this, and but it was good, it was fun, you know. In the end, that's what it was, right? You let everything kind of get too hard, and in the end, it was a good tour, did well, and you know, had those fun beginner nights like everybody's gonna get, man. You're gonna shit the bed, you're gonna think the world's over, you're going back helping, but you learn from that shit, man.
Yeah,
and then I guess everything kind of right, but no, everything progressed and started bouncing around, and that was back in the day where it was like, hey, well, you know, you kind of, that was what my foreman told me. He's like, don't just stick with one company, like jump around. Like, I'm not telling you to jump, go somewhere else. But he's like, you got to get that experience and not just stick with one company for your whole career, so you can learn other machines, right? So that was probably the best advice I could have got. Then I started bouncing around and seeing how everybody was, and I didn't bounce just because, well, whatever, it was like just it was slow work or something like that, and kind of thing. Or buddy gave me a tips like, hey, why don't you come check this out over here? And it was good. It was you got to experience new rigs. And nowadays I feel a lot of guys, they've only seen, they've only drilled on a certain rig, and that's in their resume when they look for work. Well, I've only drilled on this rig. Back in the day, it didn't matter. It's like, this is a rig, it spins, go figure it out, right? So
Yeah.
a little different mentality, but it's kind of cool knowing that you can kind of go into a rig, doesn't matter what it is, and you're gonna make a spin, man. It'll turn right.
Yeah, and I think you can still get the experience, like with I guess like that point when that would be kind of like the mid 2000s, right? When you're doing that, like it was super busy there until like I think 09 or something. And so like I mean I kind of stuck who I was with just because my stepdad worked there, but I ended up getting skidded at some point for not work related really, but then I was forced to like do the bouncing around. But yeah, I've kind of found like, even being a young guy like that, now you start bouncing around like this old driller or foreman or whoever's telling you like, oh, you should like test the waters all over, see a little bit more. Now you're like this kind of punk kid going around jumping around, but you feel like one of the boys, like, oh yeah, I worked up in Afton and now I'm over here and I was doing that. You come across as like a way older guy too. It's kind of funny, but it's really good advice to bounce around like that. I know myself looking at resumes, of course, if we're running like one of our A5s or something and the guy's like, yeah, I've been on an A5 for 12 years, doesn't really mean he's good, but like you kind of trust, well, if he's good at anything, it should be running that drill. So it's kind of nice. But yeah, you get the odd one where, and I've had a few from older guys who are kind of at the end of their careers, and they maybe only ran the gear jammers or touched a couple hydraulics, and that's really like a really tough position because you do want to hire the guy with that experience, but essentially he's just coming in with like one rig. I don't care if it's a 17 or a 56, it's the same kind of stuff, right? But yeah, it's kind of weird. You always think the old guys worked everywhere, that's who you should have. But I mean, if you're running an EF or something, and not to say the guys can't learn it, because they can, but to like really give them that chance is kind of tough. And it works that way now. Like, grabbing a guy who's only ran an A5 and now you're running a Valdor, there's probably, it's different, right?
A little different.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And they're going to be more timid. Everything has different, pressures on what you can run it to and where you're going to fuck shit up at. So they're a lot more timid, I feel. And back in the day, the gear jammers, it was straight testosterone, man. That was bevel gear drive shaft right there. Yeah. When that was the bit. That's gone.
Pure torque, yeah.
Yeah.
Good old bark, and she's gone.
There's no torque gauge. It's like that ear that barely works, and you're like, oh, I think something's happening.
100%, man.
Yeah, it's funny I say that. Oh, it's really good to like jump around, but I still, I don't know, I haven't looked at my resume in forever, but I bet it says like, I ran like conventional and hydraulic drills is always the way I'm like, ooh, it sounds really runs two types of drills here.
The whole two types.
Yeah, it's almost like a nostalgic thing. I'm gonna leave that gear jammer one on the resume, even though like no one really cares. I mean, there's a few of them running around, which I like. I hope they never fully go away, but it probably ain't gonna help you get many jobs advertising that. Just list out all the hydraulic ones, guys, if you're applying somewhere.
Yeah, because if you go on a gear jammer, it's usually for punishment, right? Even the guys that know how to run a gear jammer and they're like, hey, do you know how to run a gear jammer? You want to come run this? They're not jumping at that like it's fucking.
They stay away from it. Yeah.
Well, you go from a hydraulic to a gear jammer, and it's like you know, other than the control, like your wire line and chuck and stuff, like tell me where the controls are. You know, if you never saw anyone run it, like one control is like a piece of pipe, like a bar. Like, well, you know, if you just walked into that thing, you wouldn't even think like, oh, I lift this lever, click, it's moving gears. Like it, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny, and it's not like in the, well, even on a, you know, you walk into an A5, it's not like you just pull the manual out and it's, say you're running 56s forever, and it's like, you know, doesn't tell you where you're gonna fuck shit up or if you're even pushing on the thing. It's like drilling's so weird like that. They'll give you a manual like roughly if something breaks, but most time the driller can't understand that anyways. You know, it's like an in-depth, like a hydraulic mechanic or whatever is writing this thing. Now a driller's reading it. It doesn't relate at all to his job.
Ours brain half the time you look at it and what the hell is this thing, right?
Yeah. And I think I've only seen a manual like that in an EF. You know, on the A5, there was no manual. Like freaking, I remember the first time I jumped on those Veladors and EFs from Gear Jammers, and that's all I ran, 37s, 38, 56s. And these Gear Jammers, I was like, no fucking way. Nope. And I despise them. And after years, you got used to them, and then they became, you know, the fun ones. But I remember the first time running an A5, you know, the joint came apart when we were tripping in. And I wanted to thread them back in. Well, what do? You hit rods in. Yeah, well, that opens your foot clamp and your rods go by. So learned that one quick. They didn't have lockouts back then. They didn't have the lockouts. So, like, you were really, you know, then you had to feather it and float. Some of them didn't even have fucking float. Like, Jesus Christ.
A lot of guys, they just panic, especially being new on the drill. Like, I really hated having an experienced guy or whatever, but coming in onto an A5 who never ran one before, because, like, okay, adding that lock, to me, it's like, well, if I had the foot clamp closed and I put the lock on, it's locked, you know. But yeah, some guys, it's usually when they rip the core barrel out too, and they're like, oh, I'm not really sure what to do. Boom, hit the red button and drop the ball.
Hit the old red button, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know, you bounced around drilling and everything. What about jumping up into foreman? Was that something you were really looking at while you were drilling, or was it a goal from being a helper?
I wouldn't say it was a goal. Of course, you kind of want to hit all tiers and stages. Mainly, you want to make that money. You want to make, if you're spending, that's the way I always looked at it, is if you're going to be away, make as much as you can while you're away, right? And so that's kind of was the mindset that I had. And so eventually I did want to hit all positions. And then I think it was just one of those things when you want something, it ain't happening. If you kind of look the other way and you put your mindset somewhere else, that's when it's going to come your way. But if you want something, it don't happen. I don't know. It's just like you got to mind fuck life, I feel. And so that's kind of my rule of thumb is you know, do that with the ladies even too. It works.
Yeah.
Little tip for the night there. Hey?
Yeah. But no, like when I started, I was 150 pounds. Don't mind my hole in my head is leaking.
We probably should have left that part in so people are like, what?
What? You got a cramp on his hat.
Yeah.
This girl's numbers I collected this evening that I didn't watch.
It's an old trick. It's an old trick I learned back in the day.
You put them in your hat and they'll think about you all night.
Yeah.
But no, when I started, I was like 140 pounds, 150 pounds, and there's like big boys, you know, big tough freaking helpers, and I just remember them throwing shit around and being strong, and I thought to myself, like, we're getting paid the same. I got to be able to do that. I got to be able to do what he does, or else what am I doing? You know? And so everything under the sun I could take, I was taking freaking so much protein. I was shitting myself every day at the drill kind of thing. Like I was everything and anything I could to break my metabolism and to make myself strong enough to do what everybody else can do. And I broke my metabolism all right and fucking overbroke it. Now I'm just a fat fuck. But You know,
You're
not that
thinking
I'm
about
bad,
going
I'm
back
just
helping just to
Yeah,
trim
get
up
back
a
in
little
shape.
bit.
man.
Yeah.
That's when I was in my best shape. When you were roughnecking or helping, you were always just, and I love that. Throwing rods is just you do
Yeah, you
that
feel
all day,
good.
man.
You feel good, right?
Yeah. You
When you
sweat
went on the
everything
oil
out.
rigs, when you went on the oil rigs, were you a driller already in diamond drilling or still helping?
Yeah, I was a foreman in diamond drilling, and I went back roughnecking. So that was a tough one. How you were saying like guys like to fuck with you. Well, now I got these young punks. I think I was 23 or 25. And so I got these young kids that are, 19, 20, and I already got, I got quite a few years in the bush. And so these little punks are trying to mess with me. But I'm like, I don't want to be a dick and, oh, yeah, I make this much. I've been over here and stuff. So I kind of kept my mouth shut. But I was like, I straight up told them to, like, I'm going to fucking twist you in a pretzel, man. You keep running your mouth right in the doghouse. And yeah.
Yeah, I think I was in a similar situation. Like work just died out. I feel like it was like 2013 or something, like middle of the year. Might have been actually. It was probably after like me and you worked for Platinum there. I think like
Yeah.
after that summer, there was just like if you weren't working by like I don't know, like the start of fall, you probably weren't going back to work. It was brutal. But so I'm sitting at home now, just blowing all my money and it's all gone now. I'm on the credit cards and all that stuff. But yeah, I ended up going on the rigs, got on like December. So I had to work through Christmas and New Year. And so it was like the 13th of December, the only time I didn't want a job, and I get it. But yeah, I'd been drilling for a few years already. Kind of, I don't know, I guess it's like the opposite of when you're a baby, you got the baby fat off the start. It's like when you're at home, I'm still in good shape, but I'm a helper who's like kind of getting into the full driller body now. And then
Yeah.
so I'm like putting some pounds on because I've been sitting around and just drilling. You're not moving around as much. So, but this is when I get on the oil rig. So go out there and like I think I weighed like 235 pounds or something like that. Like and no muscle to that, just fat. So now I go out there and I'm like, I only had all this credit card debt, but I had $2,000, I think. And like I always kept a little bit of cash, like just for whatever. And I spent all that money to buy the like FR clothing. And I go out there and they're like, same thing. They're not really picking on you, but they're like, hey, like you got to prove yourself here, prove you're even a man out here. Cause now I'm showing up, nothing in diamond drilling's FR. So I show up with my brand new Carhartts, my brand new, everything's brand new. My hard hat is so fucking shiny. And, yeah, so everyone's just riding me. And now I'm lease hand only for a few days, then roughneck. And I was like, I lost what was I was 185 pounds when I left there after it was like I think it was 2 years I was working, but I lost so much weight right off the beginning. And I always like wondered if obviously a lot of that is like running around, but a lot of it felt like stress of these guys just kind of fucking with you and like wondering if because at least where I worked, if they caught you not working, they're on your ass. Like it was stressful. It's like I'm losing weight from stress and work.
Trying to pretend like I'm doing something. Yeah.
Yeah. But in your case, being a foreman and going out there, like that's so funny. I feel like I would go out there and be like, yeah, well, I was running this job and trying to relate to the drillers. But I kind of found when I was there, and it's not going out of your way to talk about drilling, but like if you ask a driller a kind of smart question, they like when a guy knows lots about drilling, you just seem to get along a little better. I felt my position I fell into that position on the oil rigs because the driller's like, oh, this guy's not an idiot. Now my clothes are dirty and stuff and I'm not so fat, so he's probably taking me more serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was the same time when I jumped on the rig too. And the nice thing about that was every time the oil rig had a slow time, like we had breakup, which they had quite a bit because I was just Southern Manitoba, and so you have a few a year. And then I'd jump back on, go back to the drills, and they'd have theirs. So honestly, it kept me rolling through all of it. I actually made the rig my number one. So when the rig called, I went back because they usually had more work than the diamond drills did until the barrel dropped, and then that everything tanked.
It's kind of nice. Like, it was a weird thing to get used to going on the rigs. How, you know, the wages, they are different for sure. And like, I found I only worked my way up. Like, I was just starting to go derrick hand when oil tanked, and I never went back. But I was cleaning up, and I never went home. I just worked all the time. But it was kind of weird getting used to the thing, like, oh, they're not cooking for me, because I didn't work in a camp. I worked in a town. So it's like, I got to find my own place to live. I got to drive my truck. Didn't have a diesel, so I can't steal any fuel. It's quite the life switch. But
it is.
Did you find, like, I don't know, I guess money wise, it's probably way different now, but did you find that they were comparable, or it was still the rigs was the main one? Like, you made them number one.
The diamond drills were number one. It was the consistency of the rig. Because the nice thing about it was 2 weeks on, 1 week off. By that time, I already had my son and I think one of my daughters. And so it was the consistency and that little bit of time off. And so personally, the 2 weeks at the rig felt like 6 on the diamond drills. And then I would say the pay was similar, maybe a little better on the oil rigs, but the thing is now you got to pay for your hotel, you got to pay for your fuel. You know, there's $1,000. There's your food's going to be an easy $500 for that 2 weeks. That's $1,500. So now you minus that from your drilling check. Like, there's pros and cons. The same thing, right? The first little bit, I just had a gas job, so there was no free diesel. I mean, once you kind of had a diesel and you had your slip tank, yes, that helped out, and you didn't have to pay for fuel the whole time you were home. Like, we had it solid. Our push would fuel us up when we were done, and he freaking, you know, we all had home kind of thing. So we had it solid that way. But the money wasn't, I wouldn't say better. I mean, that's where I feel like the misconception is yes, they make great checks. So do the diamond drills, but at least the diamond drills, everything you make, you take. It goes to sit in the bank unless you got a wife and kids. They're going to spend it for you. But that's going to happen regardless. But at least it's there. You're not spending it on living while you're working. Because that was a big part too. Like, you got to be at the rig 7 to 7. You know, it doesn't matter if you slept in your truck. Doesn't matter what you did. Just don't come to the rig smelling like booze. And make sure you're there on time.
Yeah, we were talking about that a couple episodes ago about me and Brent were like, if you're building like a new company, what, like similar to yourself, you know, you started out and you're like, I'm gonna do this different, I'm gonna do this, so you kind of go through everything, like mechanic wise, whatever. We ended up on the schedule, and I was saying, like, you know, ideally for the guy who wants to be home and be around the family lots and everything, you would work just Monday to Friday, have the weekends off. And we are joking about all these guys wouldn't show up. But, you know, on an oil rig, you got to, like you said, you have to drive there. It's such a weird thing. Like, there's a lot of guys on the diamond drills, especially after me doing a lot of travel and stuff like that. I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Like, the guy could do the job. I just don't know if he could show up for it.
Well, I was like I said, my main rig that I was on, like, I lived in Alberta for a bit, but I got on a rig just southern Manitoba, and I used to live in Brandon, and so I'd stay in Brandon, but I'd travel back and forth to the rig every day. It was like an hour and 20 minutes one way, and instead of paying for a place to live, well, friggin', I'm not burning that much on fuel. Fuel was pretty cheap still, right? So I just burn there and back every day. You know, wake up at 4:30 and I head to work. And so, you know, come home, get your freaking 6 to 7 hours of sleep, make your food, and get back to the rig. And so I did that. And then I think the whole crew, like a lot of my crew was from Brandon, so they started traveling with me. And it was like, you know, it was worth it.
Yeah, that's nice. I guess, if you could carpool like that. I think I hate driving to work. It's so annoying. Like, I've been doing like the position I'm in now. I've been doing this for like 6 years, something like that, 7 years, but I still just hate waking up in the morning and driving to work. Like I think I had to go like maybe half an hour when I worked on the oil rigs. I worked in Drayton Valley, and the furthest we went was like Rocky Mountain House or something like that. And
Yeah.
I hated it. It would have been so nice to carpool, but
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we did. It was nice because everybody would take turns driving, and then yeah, it was good. You can kind of relax. Like I said, it was a long drive, so I don't know. I don't mind it because it kind of prepped me. I like having 9 coffees and 10 darts before I got to the rig. You know, I don't know.
yeah. You got roughest neck around cranked up there. Roll
Yeah.
onto the...
Yeah.
You probably went from the, pulling up in the gas job, just like half-ton truck, and then if we could just fast forward, see a picture from like 2-3 years later, you're jacked up, got roughest neck around on fender flares, mud tires, got a big dip in.
The push loved it, right? If he seen the crew pulling up in new trucks, he was like, "Fuck yeah, these guys are locked in. You know, they're not going nowhere. They got bills to pay now." Yeah.
And they're driving to Brandon, eating at the Key Rock every night.
Yeah. Hey, don't make fun of that. That's where I met my son's mom.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. My girlfriend worked at the bar just down the road too. So it's that's how she goes,
Yeah.
But I still give her a hard time all the time too. I'm like, oh, you saw me walk in, like, knew that best looking guy in the Yukon walks in, good job, and she just rolls her eye.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, that was my plan, to get you.
Give it up already. Yeah.
Yeah. The stallion walking in.
Yeah. But I guess, like, obviously you eventually settled on the diamond drills, so moving into, so you're foreman when you went on the oil rigs. You obviously got back, there's more work. How long did you do that before, like, what really sparked the new company? Like, what made you do that?
Like, to start the drilling company?
Yeah, like, you're foreman for so long and you deal with the headaches all the time, so as an owner you're probably just going to get more of them.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it was actually, I bounced around a lot. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I was at foreman straight for years on end. It was, you kind of bounced wherever the heck you had to go. So, drilled lots, drilled foreman, that kind of stuff. And then it was more of the opportunity, right? If you're fully, like I said before, I kind of feel when the stars line up, it's time to pull the trigger on something. And so that's where, it kind of needs to land into place a little bit in order to move forward with it, because everybody's got, I think, as a if you're a driller or even a helper, man, your ideal goal is to own a rig and spin it, right? That's just, I don't know, and the end goal, right? And so it was for me anyway, and so that's kind of where it played out, and then the opportunity arose, and yeah, we kind of rolled with it, man. Like, it's my partner Kirby and I, we both kind of we talked about it when we were younger, start a company and blah blah blah. You're picking names, you're driving around, booze cruising, having fun, right? You're still freaking kids. But yeah, as we kind of got older, I mean, things started to make more sense. You got a lot more experience in it, and it's a game changer, because there's a big difference from running a rig to owning a rig. There's the business side of things that kind of that's a big change. And so I think it was more or less that everything kind of got tedious, where it was like, hey, you got to challenge the brain a bit more. And so that's kind of where we went from there. Made a game plan to make it happen, and then pushed on it, man.
That's kind of, it almost sounds like how you started drilling. You're perfectly fine spooling the wire line and doing all that stuff, and then you're like, smart guy, work hard, you learn a little bit. Yeah, I'll try drill here and there. Next thing, boom, I'm a driller. You probably, as a driller, made a couple calls, or you just get more experience, and then you get, not handed but offered that supervisor job. Then you end up keeping it, and you're like, guess I'm a supervisor now. But,
Yeah,
like, as you
100%.
move up, like unwillingly almost moving up, or unknowingly, you take on more responsibility now, and then you move into ownership. I guess like beyond ownership, I'm not really sure what the next one will be, where you take on more and more. Yeah.
I feel like a person does, right? There's everybody's a little different, but I feel like the brain, you always need to challenge the brain, and you're always pushing for more. Everybody wants more, and it's not just you want more money or you want more of this. You want to do something more with your life. You want to push something, right? You want to challenge the brain, or you want to focus on a different aspect, because that's the same thing with the drills, right? Like you bounce around, you learn that experience, that underground, that northern territory, or whatever it is, right? Conquering the basin. There's every territory has different ground. And I mean, if you stick with one, that's all you're going to know. You're going to be timid to go in a different region or anything like that. So when you kind of have a little bit of everything experience, you kind of feel a little more calmer. And I feel like that's a big one too, right? Because if you're a driller and you're all antsy because something just happened, right? That's not good for the rig. That's not good for the guy that your partner, and they're seeing that. And that goes with the foreman too, right? If some shit hits the fan, do you want a foreman that's pulling his hair out, yelling at people, or do you want somebody that's like, all right, well, let's fix it, I guess.
Yeah.
So
last thing you want to be is on a fly drill in the middle of nowhere, and that you're like pretty new helper, and that driller's just freaking out, and you're like, holy man. Like, even if we get this thing working properly, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
It's so uncomfortable. I don't know, I feel like a pretty calm almost all the time, unless I'm just super pissed off. But I don't think I've made anyone feel like that out on a fly job, like wondering about my mental state more than like the state of the drill or the hole.
Yeah. And that comes in time too, right? Like, I can't say I've always been calm and collective. I guarantee you, in my younger days, I know in my younger days, high strung and definitely a lot of testosterone flowing in that young buck. So yeah, but over the time, you calm down, you learn it, and you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? Stop to think. I think that was probably the biggest. Another big one too is like, old school guys. You tell me, they're like, when shit hits the fan, man, sit back, have a cup of coffee, have a dart, think about what you're gonna do. Don't jump into it. Start doing something dumb, because that's just gonna lead to bad shit. And that's a good rule to go by. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's in most things in general, like just rushing into it or not. Like, literally just take a breath. Brent, you were saying the other day you were going a couple days without smoking. Are you still on that train or what?
No, like man, it's the hardest thing to do, man, drilling.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. Like, no matter, I tried for years, man, and then I go a few days, and then it's just how it is. You're just gonna accept it, I guess. I don't know.
You get 3 days in and you show up and they're like, yeah, water line's frozen.
Yeah, I'll have one. This one, right?
Yeah, we'll just have a quick dart before we start that.
Yeah, and then you're asking everyone for smokes, telling them you're quitting. But I'll take one, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I've done it all. I've did the hypnotizing shit. I've done the patch, Champex several times.
Me too.
And like the hypnotizing thing was like, I was like, this has got to work, man. Like, you're getting hypnotized. I think I fell asleep in the dude. I'm like, you didn't hypnotize me. I was just fucking tired.
Yeah. That's it's funny. You're like, oh, this is the one. Like, to me, that's like the stupidest one. But it's
but I've heard stories though. People were like, oh yeah, I got hypnotized, never smoked a day in my life after that. And I remember jumping in the car and I got a stressful phone call, and fucking put the phone down, grab my pack of smokes, and I'm like, you fucking idiot. Like, that didn't work.
No, without even knowing. Yeah. I wanted to just touch on, before we move further, just talking about, you mentioned working for all these different companies. It's really good. You go to different companies, you run different drills, but we never really focused on, like, now you work in different spots. And you had made that comment, if you never drilled like in sand and just straight up hard rock or fractured stuff. How does like in what conditions do you think you kind of gain the most knowledge out of that? And Brent, I'd be curious to hear from you as well. Just, if you grew up in Manitoba and you got 5 years and then randomly you're the top of some mountain in BC, you're like, huh, kind of humbling.
It's a real thing. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I got lucky because I started in BC, and my first 5 years of my career was all over BC, and that rock can change, pretty quick. And so you do get catered to all sorts of rock, right? You're prepared for a lot of shit. Whereas in, Manitoba and Saskatchewan, it's the basic. It's going to be a lot of the same stuff. When you're in a certain kind of rock, you move 100 meters this way, it's probably going to be very similar. BC was a lot different. Don't get me wrong. Saskatchewan does have some tough rock. The Yukon, there's stuff all over that's tougher, but I feel like BC prepped me for a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you, Brent?
Honestly, like I started drilling northern Saskatchewan. It's a lot of sand, and then I spent probably 6 years drilling stick rock, a lot of it in Manitoba and Ontario, and then I went with top ranked into the Yukon, and it was a game changer because a guy just gets it's stick rock, right? You block twice a run. And there's just more for a guy. A guy feels like there's more. There has to be something different out there, that a different challenge. And then I go to fireweed there, and you're like, holy, like, what the hell's going on here? Right? You pull a 10-foot stick of casing out, and you got 5 left. The black sand eats it, right? And then same with BC. There, I went up there, and a total different. But it's a challenge, and a guy you feel good about it after you accomplish it. You're not just sitting there hitting the feed valve and sharpening your bit the odd time, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about. Like Jason said earlier, there it's all about different places, man, and accomplishing a challenge. That's what makes a driller a driller.
It's just funny. You said you spent the 5 or 6 years in Manitoba drilling, which, I guess you don't really notice till you're there, because everyone thinks ideally I want just solid rock. I don't want to be blocking and everything, which Manitoba has a lot of that. But then you're spending that time there, and then you get the guy who only drilled in BC and the Yukon, and which is crazy. But it's they're not drilling as much because they can't sharpen a bit, but they never had to. It's really weird to go both ways. I see it all the time. Guys, especially us, we're based in the Yukon. Get a lot of guys really good and bad smashed up ground, and then you get a job in Saskatchewan, and I mean they get the hang of it. If you can drill, you can drill, but it's just that transition to just
a guy gets it. A guy for sure. You have you go into the job and you're like, hey, you don't have very long to figure it out. You got no choice, right? Mm-hmm. Or you pack your bags and go home. So either you figure it out or fuck off, basically. But so if if a guy has a good head on his shoulders, and then you'll accomplish it, and you'll make it happen because you got no choice, basically. But
you were talking about doing these, doing holes over 2,000 meters and stuff, and I'm just thinking if your bit's super dull, and I'm not a deep hole guy either, so it'd make me more uncomfortable. But that thing's dull, and now I'm like, oh my god, I gotta sharpen this thing, and you can't get it to bite or anything. In my head, I'd be like, oh, just give me a clay seam to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, and that's it too, right? Because like you said, if you're kind of a little inexperienced on those deep holes, and you're stupid deep, and you go to rechuck and you start drilling, and you're like, oh, maybe you left there close to the bottom when you started up, and now it's even duller, but you're at the top of your chuck. You friggin' sharpen it there?
You're screwed.
Hell no. You got to bring it back down, so you start it there, because then you want to pull that all the way up, and hopefully you can pull it off bottom before she barks.
Yeah.
You just started the screw, and now you're resetting again. Your helper's like, what is he doing?
So, 'cause, 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 '
just to jump back into Alpha, you had mentioned Kirby. Can you tell us like a little bit about Kirby's background and then how just basically how it works? Like, are you guys the two owners, and what does each guy bring to the table? And do you just split duties, or just explain how that works?
Yeah, it's I mean, we've seen quite a few companies where it can kind of go either or, right? Like for teaming up and moving forward with a company with partners. And I feel there's definitely pros. I mean, there's going to be cons, but there's also like some really heavy pros because everybody's going to be a little bit different, right? Two heads is better than one. You kind of throw ideas. Sometimes stuff doesn't sound right in your head, and then you spit it out, and the other person's like, "Hey, that is right. Let's roll that way," or fucking the complete opposite. And so same thing. Kirby's got lots of experience as well. He's got 20 years drilling and so we have a lot of experiences the same, and so that does help, and we do have a lot of experience that are different. So in some aspects, we both have our niche that build a pretty solid team. Whether it comes down to the whole drilling aspect or it comes down to the business side of things, it definitely does help. And when it comes down to it, like we're 3 rigs right now, so we're nothing crazy. It's not like we're okay, you need to split up. We got to do our tasks here, tasks there. We still do a lot of combined thinking and discuss a lot of stuff when we move forward with it. So we're building the structure. We're building a solid foundation as we roll, especially off the beginning. And so I feel like that's big. And yeah, so like right now our shop is out in Warman. Kirby's based out of Saskatoon. My family here, we're in Winnipeg. And so it's like, we got the Saskatchewan base and, Manitoba. I got rigs over here in Manitoba that we're working on and doing stuff. And then Warman, we got a lot of our equipment up there. Majority of our equipment's over there. And so, I mean, it's really not that far, 6 hours, but it's good, In the summertime, it's not bad. Grab the dog and go for a trip and then hang out at the shop for a few weeks and get some stuff done. But yeah, no, it's a good partnership.
Yeah, and like you said, that it's really not that far. But it's nice to say like, hey, we're established in Manitoba, we're established in Saskatchewan. But yet, when I saw you maybe in December or whatever it was in Saskatoon, you just like did that. You're back home that same day.
Yeah.
It's really not. Yeah, it's not that far. But I am finding. And it's probably just I can see where the comfort comes from like a geology point of view, that if you're bidding on work now, let's say you're just outside of Winnipeg or east of Winnipeg, if you only said, like you said, hey, I'm only based in Saskatoon, like a younger geologist might look at that and be like, oh, that's awful far away. But Sear is right in Winnipeg or something, but it's, like in reality, like you said, you have rigs over there. Also, you could drive there, go if someone loaded one up on a trailer and you're right back there. It just doesn't. It's really funny. You have to have that kind of that coverage, but at the end of the day, it's not really all that defines you for what your company.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. I pulled a drill here a couple weeks ago. Then loaded up on a trailer, and it was, I had it here in 8 hours or 6 hours. Actually, 6 hours. It was actually pretty good, but like it really, didn't slow anything down. It didn't cost a fortune, so it's not. It's nice being able to have those spread out a bit, and that's kind of what the whole, we're both Manitoba boys. Having it set up in Saskatoon, being central in Warman, that was, I felt, was pretty key. Right, because now you can kind of reach. We want to reach in the BC. We haven't had our rig spin in BC yet, right? We did a lot of Northern Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, but we love BC. We love drilling out there. We gotta go scratch that rock for a bit.
Yeah, go block for a while.
yeah. Once you get there, you may be like, I don't know, but it's just you gotta have that. Like you said, you always want more. It doesn't necessarily need to be money or blah blah blah. It just, you want that little bit. You gotta be able to put that under the belt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done lots of that. Did a big, like a long fly program around. Kind of started off in like Thompson, then Snow Lake, and ended up in Flin Flon and around that area. But did that same job on the same drill for like 2 years, 2.5 years. And the only variation we really got was, you get into these areas where you drill through the limestone, which went quite a ways. Then you hit kind of the clay and sand or whatever, but it was only short. Like it's like 15 feet of crap. And then you're right into like into granite or proper bedrock. And we'd always reduce there. But like, then sometimes you just get where you're putting 20 feet of casing in and then boom, you just drill a drill a hole. I think we were doing BQ as well. But we did that for so long. Great job too. I love staying in Flin Flon. Like the company rented me an apartment at the end of it. It's like free, buy all your groceries you want. You're in town, booze and girls and good paychecks, and life is really good. So when you say like, I kind of get tired of that stuff, I always think back to that job and I'm like, fuck no. Let me stay there. But yeah, at the time I was always just eventually that work kind of dried up and I'm like, it'd be nice to go somewhere else. And then you end up on the top of a mountain in BC or the Yukon. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, you miss your home.
Yeah. Yeah, missing my rented apartment across from the bar. I think I was living on top of the dollar store and I'm like, oh man, this is like, life doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah. Got a couple for you there, Jason.
Yep.
What do you think some of your just started when you started up Alpha and to now is some of your biggest hurdles you guys went through as in Kirby there?
I guess, I mean, I kind of feel a lot of companies are going to have that. I think most companies are going to have that first main hurdle where it's like you're putting everything in and, blood, sweat, and tears, and you're racking out the credit card. You're making the wife wonder what the hell you are doing. And sometimes you're guessing too, what are you doing? Right. And you're shooting for the stars in a lot of aspects. And I think that's a big one. Like when we first started, we got our hands on a rig. She needed some work, and then we had a contract lined up. We spent weeks, like months, in a shop just putting this thing together, making it work. We had what we had on our credit cards to friggin' put this thing in and get it going. I mean, and so yeah, I think that was probably the biggest hurdle, but that was also the funnest part, man. Looking back at that and seeing seeing how we made something that, when you've seen it, you're like, oh, what the heck, But when you're done, you're like, yeah, throw some new drywall or plywood on the walls and,
it's going to happen.
You did you went down right to the guts, like, because we know these machines like the back of our hands where you can take it apart and rebuild it and make sure this thing is running mint, because that's what you want, right? And that's kind of what we always did was, as a foreman, you make sure that machine is running top notch so those guys can make top dollar with it. And so,
instead of getting out to the field and pissing around with it for weeks on end just to get it going.
Right? Yeah, seeing like, oh yeah, well that thing should be good to go. Send it out. Oh no, freaking let's make sure this thing hums.
Yeah.
But when it's out there, she screams. And so like we restructured the shack and everything. Like it was awesome. It was cool. It was good. I mean, that was probably one of the bigger hurdles. And like you say, you're getting it on site, learning a lot of things that you didn't really have to deal with as a foreman or as a driller, and learning that business side of things. And it was good though. It was good.
So how did, like, when you, again, back to when you started out, how did your wife and your family like how were they with the decision of starting it out? Were they for it, or?
Yeah, it was definitely, I mean, I've put the family through a few roller coasters with businesses, right? Because I got, this is not the only business I have, and so everything it's a roller coaster, and my wife's real well aware of that, and she just knows me very well where I can't sit in one spot. Like I gotta keep the brain moving. If I'm stagnant, something's wrong. So she knows how it goes, but she does second guess what I'm doing when it's doing big things like that, right? Where it's like, okay, what are you doing here? Because if you don't give, something's gonna give. And but for the most part, I mean, my wife and the kids, everybody's really supportive. So I definitely can't complain. She's still with me, 11 years later. So yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Do you want to like briefly touch on the other business and if they're related at all or how you got into that?
100%. I mean, that was another thing too, where, like I said, the stars need to align a little bit in order to push forward on a business plan or a goal or something. Like, I'm not saying that everything needs to line up and so it's easy. Like, don't get me wrong, you're gonna have to claw and fight for it, but something's gotta line up a little bit. And so that's where I found like, so I own Supplement World Winnipeg, and that's kind of something I was always into, right? Like at work, you gotta have your protein, your pre-workouts, your EAs, lots of stuff like that, your vitamins, and that's an essential because these camp jobs, sometimes the food's not that great, or you're not eating properly. A lot of us, you can get out of shape, you can have ulcers, you can have all these things. How many times has the doctor told us to, hey, get your shape in check, stop drinking whiskey or rum, so owning a supplement store was like an all-time goal. I wanted something where, the kids could kind of see that, and they're all into sports. They could follow suit with that. They don't necessarily need to follow dad in his footsteps in the diamond drills. And so, that kind of, I thought about that for a bit, and everything kind of started falling in line with it. And it's kind of funny how it worked because these both kind of landed at the same time when I started my store up, and the drilling really took off. So it was pretty chaotic. So like the store was about 2 years now, and like we did the drilling thing and finally got rolling smooth, and there's you're still fresh, and then tell the wife I want to open a supplement store, and she was like, "What, are you nuts?" We just got it back together, and so then I pulled that one, and yeah, but it's good though. I mean, it's busy. It's very busy,
I remember seeing that just on Facebook. I knew that you kind of started the drilling business. Didn't know if you were really working or how that worked. And then soon after I saw that you guys had Supplement World. And I'm like, oh man, I guess like the drilling didn't work out. I couldn't even imagine like those two things that someone's sitting at home and right in the middle of this drilling thing be like, you know what we need? We need another business. That's not even related to it at all.
No doubt, eh?
No, man, you're not wrong. It really intrigued me, and I really wanted to do it. I knew that there was that market here in Winnipeg. I lived here for all my life, the majority of it anyway. And so you kind of seen what Winnipeg had to offer. And I knew that going with Supplement World, because we're the first Supplement World in Manitoba. They started out in Saskatchewan. I mean, we're the 16th store, and now they have over 30. So they have blown up. They're very successful, and they bring something unique to the table, which is very cool. Like we got protein shakes that are 0 to 5 grams of sugar we're between two big gyms. So when you're done your workout, you can swing by, grab your protein shake, and they're 275 calories. Like they're super good, healthy for you. Like bulk protein. There's SW Labs. So it's just there's a lot of cool stuff that Supplement World brings to the table, and it helped me too, right? Like it helped. I got
shit
so
yourself.
I got so
shit yourself.
Like,
He's like, that's why he started the store. He's like, man, every time I take this, I'm shitting. Like, I got to figure out what's in this.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's fun though.
Yeah. When you say, I was thinking that the other day, cause I got a few friends that live in Winnipeg, and, like I commonly see that, everyone, like girls normally stop at Starbucks and they'll take a picture of something, but it's just to show that they went to Starbucks. But I've been noticing stuff like that with Supplement World, like they'll tag the location, and it's just yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's like, you know, everybody's proud of like, you know, they have their little store that they go to, or the, you know, just everything they do, they kind of want to show off who they are. But yeah, I've noticed that quite a bit lately. It's pretty cool. And then
Yeah,
I'm like,
it
I
is
know
culture.
that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it too, man. I know a lot of guys here, they're diamond drillers and they're up north, and you know, we'll send stuff out to you, man. Like if you want to get on that healthy diet, you want to start, you know, you want to make some gains, whether you want to eat healthier, feel better, or you want to grow. If you're a helper and you're like, hey, I need to grow, I hear you, man. There's lots of stuff that'll help. You know, send me a line on Instagram, Supplement World Winnipeg, and we'll put a package together for you. We'll send it up to you. I've done it for a lot of my buddies, and it definitely helps, and it'll help the tour go by quicker and make you feel a lot better, man.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that if you ever did that. You know, back when I used to end up like, you know, buying the commissary and stuff like that, it was always a pain in the ass, because especially up here, they do have like a pretty big supplement store now, but you know, you'd be running around usually on like a Saturday or something. So you end up at Walmart and you're looking for like whatever the closest thing to what this guy asked for. And I'm sure when they get it too, they're pissed off. Like a big thing on the drills, the guys just love doing pre-workout, but just to like, and I loved it too for a while there too. I like the like tingly hands and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
you know, it was so annoying to buy all the stuff. And yeah, just when we were lining this up, I was like, that'd be pretty wicked. You know, even as me, I would prefer that the guys say they reach out to you and then a package just shows up at the shop and it's like, hey, it's for, I don't know, for John or whatever. And it just says like, maybe we'd probably check it, but
yeah,
you know,
100%.
Yeah, but then it's just, yeah, he got his package, send it up. He's happy. You're happy. That's pretty cool. Maybe we'll, even on say YouTube or something like that, or if I do an edit here, I could even throw like maybe whatever link or something you want, just so people can reach out to you. But,
yeah, like there is like you can order online through Supplement World and it'll come from the head office. There's also that route, but like I said, I run the Instagram for Supplement World Winnipeg. You can feel free to reach out anytime if you even just want to bullshit about products and what might help. You know, it's always, that's a nice thing too, is because you're always helping somebody. You know, whether whatever it is. I don't know. I like talking about supplements and how they can better a person. I feel like they bettered me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, it's hard too for guys. You know, it's hard enough to get like your taxes done or go to the dentist when you're a diamond driller. You know, you only have like so much time off, and like you know, if you want to make a change like that or get into something new, like at least now, you know, someone can be at work, maybe reach out to you or whatever and start the ball rolling and get into that. You know, it's crazy that people who don't work in this industry working like 6 weeks on or 4 weeks on and 2 weeks off. It's like, there's not a lot of time for, especially if you got a family, like to get into new hobbies or learn something new or educate yourself. It's really cool, man.
100%, man. Like even same with our guys, especially a lot of the roughnecks, the helpers and stuff like that. Yeah, you'll see them if they're struggling, or you know they're doing, or some guys are just doing freaking amazing. And you know that if he just had a little more food, the guy eats like a beast, but he's not getting enough, right? So it's like, hey, I'm gonna order you this and this and this, you know. So
I heard you've done that a couple times there to guys,
yeah, dude, and it helps, man. You start seeing them grow, and you're like, hell yeah, you know. Yeah, it's amazing what you can do to your body, because we really are only using a certain amount of our body on a day-to-day. Now, if you dial that in, if you get your 8 hours of sleep, you take the vitamins you need, you start taking the fuel that you need. You know, a lot of people don't even eat properly, man. You eat in the morning and you start taking that fuel during the day, you're a whole different person.
Yeah, and I guess the job is so, you know, the job's so physical as it is, especially being a helper. You're like, I mean, it's not the same as going to the gym, but it's a degree to that. But I'm not a huge guy into fitness. I just got this build naturally, but you know,
get him some ass gainer there.
He's gonna end up sending me a packet.
He's gonna need oxy shred. He said he's 230 pounds, aren't you?
No, I trimmed down a bit. That was in
Trim
my
down a bit. Okay, yeah, you can totally
Yeah.
tell.
hey, that was in my unemployment days. I've had a job for a while. But look out if I get skidded. But yeah, I guess but even a guy like myself, like I think at some point in my life I'm gonna really have an interest in that. I just find I'm an excuse, but really wrapped up in business, and like I run another business as well. But yeah, it's, I guess, for people who are maybe looking to make a change like that, it's to get that initial boost of like confidence boost, or like, hey, I'm doing something right here. Would you say taking care of the diet and stuff would kind of be your first step, especially for someone working on a drill who's like pretty physically active already? Like, take care of the diet, and then I don't know if there's stuff that you offer, which you would see changes without even hitting the gym.
Yeah, definitely diet. Diet is probably 60 to 70% of it. You see a lot of these guys that are big and jacked. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of genetics and stuff like that come with it. But if you can lock in your diet and you kind of actually see, that's the one thing I always never really was able to lock in, and I just didn't know. I didn't have the knowledge behind it on what are the healthy meats and what are the clean meats and the clean carbs and the clean fuel, and when do I take them, stuff like that, right? If you can lock it in and learn a little bit about that, that's going to play a big game in it. And then, like I said, like if you're physically fit and you're roughnecking and you're busting your ass, but you're not making any gains, well, it's because you got a high metabolism, or there's this reason, and you gotta add in this, and you'll see it just flourish. There's so many little things, and everybody is a little bit different, but once you kind of learn your body, it's significant.
Yeah, well, that's cool. It's obviously something you're pretty passionate about. I guess that's probably the thing that the two businesses have in common, right? Like you like both of them.
Yeah, and I like it. I like going to the gym. I like training. I've always intrigued about the supplement sides of things, and I think that's a big one too. Like is being able to let stuff out in a positive way. Like a lot of people, drink and party. Our realm is it's a little different. The days have changed there, so it's not that crazy on tour anymore. Nobody's drinking and partying like that, which is good. I mean, don't get me wrong, there you get that every once in a while, but for the most part, you're not. But even on your time off, when you come home and it's like you want to enjoy your time off, but you're drinking and you're doing all that stuff, and it really puts you back. It sets you back. And for me, the gym is just like the one place where I can go and kind of shut the brain off and just train, because like things get hectic. Like it's either nonstop or it's quiet, one or the other. But it's when it's crazy like that, you need that place of zen to shut the brain off, throw the earbuds in, crank the music, and throw some weights around. Whether it's just like your daily, meditation kind of thing, or it's a bad day where you're frustrated and you're you're going to let it out on the wrong person, or your family's going to feel a little bit of it. So you just go to the gym, let it out, and you'll feel a lot better.
Yeah. I think a lot of guys actually kind of, they lack in a lot of them aspects. They want to do it, but then they go home and it's kind of a different ball game. And it's, I don't know, it's kind of even like drilling there. Like what like as a company owner of Alpha, what do you think other drilling companies lack of? Like, what do you think that you want to be more of? They lack of?
Personal. I feel like that's a big one. I don't know. I've always been a personal person with, either employees or clients. It's good to be able to touch on like a full transparency. You also got to have your limits. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I always really appreciated that with, owners. If I shot them a message, you could tell who was really solid or how their companies grow. I noticed that it was like, okay, if you had up to 5 rigs, the boss was still there and communicated with you, or You would shoot him a text and he'd shoot you one
Involved.
back. You give him a call. Yeah, he would answer. He was involved and he gave a shit. And then there was a lot of times where the company was just, maybe he was too busy. Maybe they got too big and it was just, you ended up being a number. And I didn't like that feeling. And that's one of the reasons I stuck with medium-sized companies versus big companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Just what do you want to see? Like, where would you want to see Alpha? Like 2 drills or 10 drills or 20 drills? Like, where would you want us to go?
I kind of, I get that a lot, and I feel there's like it kind of can go either way. Like, yes, it's like, 4 drills or 5 drills, that's a perfect number. That's what you want. Yeah, like if it was able to spin all year round, 100%. But that's just not the way the world works, right? The busy time is going to be these couple months or whatever, and then you're going to have a shitload there. And ideally, it would be nice to grow and be a significant size company, but structured properly, right? Where you don't lose track of stuff and you remember the roots and you still enjoy it and you're still out in the field, but then you're not pulling your hair out because you don't want to have a heart attack at 50 either, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, like you said, back to your guys, you want to be there, support them as much as you can, right?
Yeah, at least be available for it, because that could work against you both ways if you're that owner, and it's like, even you probably didn't want the foreman at the drill. Now imagine the owner's like texting you all the time. But at least follow, I guess. I think following the chain of command is really important, which is something that I think is lost in drilling right now. And it's not like people shouldn't take that personal, but like my position in the office, it's not that. I guess I should just go back to when like I was helping. I would call around for work all the time. You talk to the operations guy or the field guy, we used to call it all the time, but that's who you talk to go to work. And then when you went to work, you talk to the foreman, and you didn't go above that. And if you went above that, and now that operations guy tells the foreman, like, you're in shit. And as like an owner you really want to know what's going on, but I think you really still have to follow that chain of command. If you don't want the guys jumping above the foreman, the owner shouldn't jump, I guess, below the foreman to talk to the guys. But it sounds like you're thinking about that stuff as you grow, like to not grow too fast and also just be annoying, like, hey, how's my drill doing? Does my drill have fuel in it? Did you check the oil in my drill?
Well, there's little things you got to do as a boss too, where you feel like you're like, you nitpicking or micromanaging. But if you don't do it, it won't get done. Like you say, like, oh, did you fill up the drill today? Because that one person he's always forgetting, right? Yeah. And God forbid that's a motor that's a bitch to prime, right? So you gotta kind of find the battles to win. But I know what you mean when you're saying like, sometimes people go above your head and it's like, I don't understand where that chain of command kind of got lost. It's also a respect thing. Some people don't have it. Some people have it right from the gate. Some people don't see it, right? And it's like, okay, well, even if it is okay, you're still gonna ask your boss man and be like, hey, do you mind if I shoot this person a line, or whatever, instead of going over their head, just to get his thoughts. Because then you're not necessarily asking for permission. You're just having respect of the chain of command.
Yeah. I think I've had it a lot of times where I don't know, and it's guys who haven't been in the industry or maybe just don't see that as the kind of lack of respect to the foreman by jumping ahead and maybe talking to me or whoever. But I don't know. Like I'd say it's just the cell phones. Everyone, you can Facebook my name and you'll see who I am, and it's nothing to send a message. That's obviously where that's switched around, but I'd really like to see it where guys just understand that that's not how you do it. It's like in any company though, you have supervisors and they're treating you really shitty or asking you to do stuff that's dangerous. It's really nice now that you can go above their head if you really have to, right? But
Yeah,
I think that should only be a thing like if
people take
you
that for
really
granted
have
for
to.
sure.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Like,
People
don't
take
talk
that
to
for granted.
me. Yeah, don't talk to me about the day that you're leaving camp when you have a supervisor on site who talks to me every day. And
Yeah.
it just, to me, it comes off really, really poor when guys do that. Like I kind of look down on behavior like that. Which, yeah, I don't know. You know, diamond drillers are pretty rough characters, and I know even me and you, Jason, we work together, like rough characters at times, but you respect stuff like that. Like that's your boss. You go to them, and they're running the job.
Yeah, 100%, man.
I guess if you're growing too fast, it's good. Like financially and stuff, you're buying stuff. But if you don't manage it, like you said, you could be in for a world of hurt down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I feel like I did jump into 2 businesses, and it's full on chaos at times. And, having a house full of kids and all this stuff going on, it's good though, because I broke a lot of limits in me, right? So now I'm able to look at things like, that ain't gonna be that bad. I mean, that's like anything, right? Like even when you're drilling, right? You get afraid of this rock that's everybody's talking about. But if you hit it so many times and you conquered it, you're like, oh fuck, I got this shit. So it's just exposing yourself to that limit of stress, or seeing that new kind of stuff that you got to put your body through, and seeing, different aspects of business where it's, growth. Everybody's got to grow, but you also got to be able to manage that growth. Yeah. And so there's businesses that are completely different is actually cool to see. Stressful at times, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah. How do you are you at the point now, like I don't know if you've had all 3 drills going at once, but do you have like some guys that are kind of working for you regularly, or are you're obviously hiring from outside as well, just like everybody else, but how's that whole hiring thing been for you and just crewing drills?
It's actually pretty good. We have a solid crew that been with us since day one, and they'll head back to work when we're at slow times. They'll go jump with somebody else, kind of thing. But I mean, the boys check in, or we're checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, and as soon as we got something coming up, they're always there for us. And I mean, that's where that personal really helps. Having that, Merry Christmas, that good bullshit phone call. Having each other's backs no matter what, right? Is that brotherhood. We really strive on that. And so we do, like when we're, when we got a few drills spinning, you definitely do got to outsource. So, you're bringing in some new guys, but for the most part, our main crew's always there. And a lot of our main guys are going to be the foremen and stuff like that too. So we're stacked pretty well.
So what do you, just to touch on briefly about the, hiring from the outside, especially being a smaller company, usually it's, I'm not sure like what your wages are at and stuff like that, but typically it's like the smaller companies are kind of more top dollar. What are you looking for in, like, say, you're probably not just hiring foremans off the street. I wouldn't think that you are, but maybe with a good reference possibly. But what do you look for, like a driller and a helper when they're applying now? Because you only have so many spots, right? So I would imagine you vet guys pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of go through a lot of word of mouth. You get a lot of resumes coming in, and you can kind of read a resume to see, if this guy spells everything correctly. I don't know if I want to bring him on. If he, you know what I mean? It's like, how good of a diamond driller guy is this?
Yeah.
So, but everybody knows everybody, man. You've been in the industry so long that everybody's gonna know who we're bringing on, right? Guarantee you. So that's word of mouth is massive for us. And yeah, you obviously resumes, you'll go through them, you'll kind of see what kind of experience they got, bullshit with them on the phone. If he's down to earth, sounds like a solid dude, you'll bring him up. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody's in a pinch where it's like, hey, you know what, we need a guy yesterday, so we're pulling this guy in. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Do things like there's the typical like certificates you need and whatnot. like part of doing the show is it'd be, I know if I didn't know anything about diamond drilling, but I knew like the money's there or whatever, I would watch a show like this too. And even for guys who maybe only work for one company and now they have to make that leap. Just when it comes to, I guess you could start off like to work for Alpha, what does like a helper need to have, or a driller, like certificate wise or training wise?
I'd say the basics are going to be your license, your first aid. If you have your H2S or WEMIS, that's a friggin' plus. Not that it really valid for most of the jobs we take on, but it's just those courses kind of always ran with the industry.
Mhm.
Those are going to be your main ones, your first aid and your driver's license. There's obviously other courses that you can have for different areas to drill in. Like if you got your Common Core, that kind of shows that obviously you drilled in Ontario.
What about a green hand coming in with Common Core? Because I've seen that as well, and that's I don't know the prices, but I think it's super expensive. Like if a company's not doing it for you.
Yeah, that definitely. I mean, and they did put effort in to get that. I'll give them that, but honestly, that kind of does scare me because unless it's a young green hand, but it just makes you wonder, right? Where that initial phone call, that first introduction, that's really what's going to play it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like having that first, I'm a talkative guy. I like chatting with people, feeling them out, seeing how they work. And if you can meet a person face to face, you're going to tell with that handshake. You're going to talk to them on the phone. You're going to be able to tell quite a bit. Don't get me wrong. You'll get a curveball here and there, but that's a big one. Yeah. And consistency too, right? Like how dedicated does his resume look? Did he, not necessarily did he finish school? Like I can't say that because I'd be a hypocrite, but that dedication, you can kind of read between the lines.
Yeah. It's a really tough one to do, especially with like when they say one bad apple spoils the bunch, but it's like as a bigger company, you can kind of afford that a little bit more because for like that one bad person, so much good stuff is going on. But for a smaller company, like if you only have one drill going or two drills and you have to get some stranger in there, that can do a lot of damage that takes years and years to repair, with a certain
100%. And I think that's a big risk that, smaller companies should be very leery on taking. I know that you do need people sometimes in a pinch. But we've been lucky enough, like I said, we have a pretty solid crew. We brought a few guys in, but it was always somebody who knew somebody. And so there's a little backing there.
Mm-hmm.
And you always have it where if something does happen, it's not going to be catastrophic. You're able to pull them and get somebody in there pretty quick.
Yeah, I think me and Sean were talked about that before. They're like, it's like you can get a guy that when the industry's really busy and he helped for one tour and he just bounces around company to company. He's probably going to figure it out at some point and maybe be good. But I mean, you bounce around and you fuck so much shit up, right?
Yeah.
So you have like it's just, and then back to the helping thing. Like you said, I helped for 6 years, 5.5 years. Like you guy put to work and you didn't have a chance. Like I didn't touch the levers for the first 3 years, right?
Yeah.
I was happy. I dumped tubes. So now you get guys that come in the industry and they don't even know what an HQ rod is, but they're going drilling in 3 months.
Yeah.
You didn't put no work in, right? You didn't put nothing in. So don't sit there and talk about how big top because you cut 100-meter shift in Manitoba stick rock, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing too, right? But so you have them guys, and I could definitely see where you're coming from with picking and choosing, and that's the same with like Top Rank Devin and them. Like they're very wise on their decisions, right?
Yeah.
He's only saying that because he worked for Top Rank. That's
yeah.
Make sure you're listening, Devin. Make sure you're listening. Right?
You know,
they always
trying to make myself look good here. Eh?
yeah. Isn't that why we started the podcast?
Yeah, trying to get me a job. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
just to go back to like helping, because it would be cool if someone watched this and maybe it does help them get a job. Just a couple things, like even from my point of view, when everybody goes on Facebook, on Instagram, on even LinkedIn, those are the first things people search for. And then you look for mutual friends and you talk to them. That happens with everybody. Like, just a tip to people, like, clean up that social media. If you're just a brand new guy, it's incredible the people that try to hire on. You do one simple search for their name, 10 friends in common because they work on the drills too. And you just look at the pictures. The big one is the no hard hats on in a drill, no shirt, and there's no guard on the drill, and you're stupid enough to be making videos. Like, and when I say stupid enough, I got fired for making a video back in like 2006. So I know what it's like to make bad decisions in that way, but just a helpful hint to people, or just not just drilling, but any employer. That's what they look at. So clean that stuff up. And I think if I search a guy and he doesn't have one of those things, though, like if there's no Facebook profile or anything, I also think it's a little bit weird. It's like, well, what are you hiding? And that's just the day and age we live in now. Like, if you don't have one of those things, or no one really knows you, I find it a little bit strange.
Oh, then you kind of feel like the person's a shit show, right? Oh, he loses his phone every weekend. Oh, he forgot his password, so he had to reset it. I've had my same phone number and email address since I was 16 or 15, dude. Just when the boss called, there's no friggin' different numbers. They got me every time.
Yeah.
So
that's why. And he never said no either. That's
it too, man. Like back in the day, it was like you called for work and they're like, yeah, no, I've got a spot for you. Okay, cool. Let me know what time I'm leaving. It wasn't like, oh, where am I going? How's the food? What's the pay? It was like, I'll get my boots,
Yeah.
So, and I think that's, if you want a job and you're looking in this direction, if you're reaching out to somebody, jump in the vehicle. If there's a drilling company close, go swing by there, go shake a hand, look a guy in the eye, and that's what's gonna lead you. And you never know. Those are the things you don't want to do are the things that are gonna better you. Whether it's I don't want to go do this. It's like, get up and do it, man. It'll be worth it in the end, and chances are you're gonna fluke out and luck out, and somebody just quit that morning.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Actually, just show up. Up here, the last place that I worked for, not that you'll hire anybody off the street, but if somebody's willing to come there with a resume and an actual, don't show up if you don't have a first aid certificate. Don't even message any drilling company till you have that. Like, don't bother. You look so stupid, and you're never considered for hired. Like, it's just you can tell.
I don't
it's
have
one thing
it,
that
but
just
I can get it.
Yeah. Like, how's that first aid? Oh, well, I think it's okay. It's like, just get out. Like, go get it. Show up. Like, you put shoes on to show up. Like, I don't know. Just get the first aid certificate. If you have a license, I mean, not that everybody needs it, but it's preferred. But show up. Go to the shop and just ask, or say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Have a respectable resume. We hired tons of guys like that up here, which is crazy because, like, from where I'm from, it was really hard to get jobs before. And yet a guy would walk in, he has a certificate, shows up, he's not drunk or stoned or anything, good shape, and he actually shows up to work on time or does a drug test ahead of time, and he's awesome. And all he did was come there.
Yep.
Like, so now we're gonna put your home address up on here, right? So guys can stop by the house.
Yeah.
Post it on there,
Well, I've had somebody's mother message me for their son for work, and I was just bewildered at that, like a hard no, that your son's kind of got to put in a little footwork there. That just
like he
that
never
really
touched.
shows a lot.
he never touched base with you at all. It was just
No, no. And I even
no.
told his mom, like, "Ah, you give me a call and blah blah blah," and fed into it a bit. But it's like your mom's reaching out for you to go to work that's a bad sign.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's gonna tell the driller you didn't fuel up or something? You're gonna get a text from unknown name and number. It's mom.
Yeah.
I'm calling, eh?
Yeah. I guess we're kind of nearing the end here. One thing I did want to ask though is just about being a small company, really getting your foot in the door, just getting work in general. How did you guys go about that, and how are you going about that in the future to get new clients or to get your company noticed? I guess the first one would be like, how did you get that first job? It's always really interesting because everyone thinks, oh, I buy the drill, the rods, all the stuff, and then I just have a job.
Hopefully you wing it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it has to do with the experience and the people you knew in the industry and kind of doing a lot of outreach from there. But honestly, we you know, a lot of these conventions, they play a big part in it. And so our first one was Toronto, man. 2020 was Toronto, and that's by far the biggest chaotic convention out there. And so that was number one.
That
But
one was worth it to you? I haven't been to that one, but I'd imagine
I
you
wouldn't.
spent a pretty penny to even go to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
Yeah.
was lovely. Um, I wouldn't say it was worth it. Like it may have been worth it, but that was 2020. That was right when COVID. So when we came home from that, yeah, we may have stuff lined up, but COVID hit. So I got home and everything kind of just went out the door. Everything just went
Mm.
to a standstill. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a bad time, I guess, to make that investment. Eh?
yeah. So yeah, it was a little quiet there for a bit, but it's yeah, like having the right outreach, like you say, the communication with people that you worked with in the past, and yeah, just keep pushing, man. That's kind of how every business is. You gotta grind to make it work, right?
Mhm.
A lot of days you're gonna feel like you're doing it for nothing, but just keep grinding.
Kind of takes you back to, like, I don't know how it was for you, but even though it was, I guess it'd be more working into like 2009 and stuff where it was really slow. Like I had went drilling for a bit. Um, I wouldn't consider myself a driller at the time, but work slows right down. Well, now I just call for helper jobs, and it was really hard to get in. Like you actually knew, hey, this company, they got 4 drills going, who's on those crews. Like you're sitting at home without Facebook or anything.
Yeah,
you just know what's going on, and you're like, Tony's got 4 days left his hitch. Like I should call right now and I could weasel my way in there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways, like the persistence to try get jobs, and you're always calling like the ops guy because you never sent texts, you never emailed about it, you called. And you're like, hey, is there any work yet? And he's like, no, nothing. Call back in a couple days. And you call back a day earlier, and you kind of annoy him. And I find, like, do you find that looking for clients now? You're obviously like promoting yourself and marketing and going to these conferences, but at the end of the day, like you kind of end up at a conference and you're that helper again. Yeah.
100%. And it's like, it's knowing where to be annoying and when not to be annoying, right? It's like, all right, am I pushing too hard for this?
Mhm.
And some people love it. Some people love it because I mean, it's initiative, right? You're pushing for it, and obviously this guy wants work. He calls me freaking every 2 weeks. So yeah, we're gonna see what he does, and for persistency, it's and so yeah, it kind of goes that route as well. It's kind of funny how you explained it, and it makes sense though. Yeah, you gotta be persistent, but not annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good tip. A lot of people are really good at being annoying, so just fine tune it.
Yeah, fine tune it down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. I get that a lot too. Like it goes both ways, right? Like when you go to these conventions, man, you're chasing somebody, somebody's chasing you, and I mean, you could either enjoy it and do it properly, or you could annoy the shit out of that next person, and I'm sure somebody's on your ass annoying the shit out of you. So it just doesn't make it fun. you got to enjoy it. Life is short. Enjoy everything you do.
Yeah. I guess with the, the time of, or the beginning of this year, but the time of the year, we've kind of did the whole conference season and stuff like that. So how are things looking for Alpha in 2025? Do you have stuff lined up? And just for anyone watching, like, are you guys hiring? And how do they contact you? What's your preferred method?
Well, they could always shoot us a line. You can go on our website, reach out to us there, or you can even just shoot me an email at jay@alphadrilling.ca. But yeah, we do have a busy season coming up, so we're definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll probably need more crews, so by all means, reach out and we can touch base and kind of discuss things a little further if you want.
Yeah,
it's looking like it's going to be a solid year. I think everybody's kind of seeing it, and it was kind of a slow start, I feel, for a lot of people. So I think it's going to be a good kick.
Yeah, I think we're still in the midst of it being kind of slow. Like where we are, like we work all over Canada as well, but especially up here, we're kind of used to it being slow right now. But there's not as many echoes of work kind of coming up. Like Brent, you could actually speak to that more. I mean, you're in camp right now. You're talking to guys who are probably in and out from other places. Like, what's the word on the street on your end?
Yeah, there's like Jason said, I knew there's not too much happening right now. I mean, it's like BC but I imagine it'll be picking up like you both said here. I mean, just right now it's pretty slow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Manitoba's out in Saskatchewan, a few jobs, but
yeah,
not
it's not so bad doing frozen hose line right now. There's lots of guys at home like, I would get me out there.
Yeah, like the holes, they're not even too deep. Sometimes up here, Snow Lake, they go 2,000-meter holes. So at 1,400 meters, even a guy's like dreading it, but it's work, right? So
yeah. Well, it's kind of deep holes though in the winter. It's kind of nice because you're not moving.
Nice warm shack. Yeah, nice warm shack.
Yeah.
You almost look forward to freezing up, as bad as it sounds, just to get away from the goddamn drill. Right? Anyone freezes their hose line, just come see me at my drill. I'll take care of it.
Yeah. Summertime's good for rallying and smashing short holes. Deep holes in the winter. I'll send you some pre-workout. You can fucking work out at the
buddy. I'm hard on her.
Yeah, what's your favorite pre-workout right now?
I was taking this Mother Bucker stuff. I was on that one. Do you ever hear that one? Mother Bucker instead of motherfucker. Yeah, it was a good one. And then that's what the heck was it? I don't know, man. I go into like Supplement World and Steinbach because I'm from Kleefeld there. Yeah, and I just tell them, give me the best one you got.
Yeah,
right? They probably give me the most expensive one they got and tell me it's the best one.
Yeah, that's how I'd play it too.
Fucked up, or is it actually called Mother Bucker?
Mother Bucker.
Really?
Yeah, and it's from the States, so I didn't get it from there. I got it from the States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really good stuff. See, that's the thing. The States allow a lot more stuff to go in their pre-workout than Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try a different one every time. Or sometimes I have 3 tubs going on, and you could just mix it up. And
yeah.
I don't know if I was telling this story maybe on another episode, but working in this camp, and this is when the pre-workout was like really big. So this foreman like he's seen the guys like they're all taking it and now they're working. So he sneaks in the drill, grabs the tub of it, and he just torques it on, puts it back. He leaves, and I don't know how long later he come back to the drill, and all like 3, there's 2 helpers and driller there, and they're all like, it's like the pickle jar. They're handing it around. They can't open it. He's like, yeah, really working.
I had we were doing deep hole, same thing, and I don't know if we were conditioning the hole for testing or something like that, but the surveys took forever, and so one of the other crews, the other drills, I guess they're pulling rods, and so I mean, when you pull rods, what do? You smash a pre-workout and you yank those buggers out, right?
Yeah.
And so I think they took too much. They came to my drill, they're just vibrating. They're like, I think we took too much pre-workout. Can you come pull my rods for me? I had to go over there and pull the rods for them. They were like sitting
Yeah.
outside puking and just they were fucked right up. It was awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. I don't know if it was pre-workout though, but
Oh, I mean, like, how much did you take? Because like, I could see it if you did.
Yeah.
oh. Jeez, your pod's just cut out there. Oh well, he'll sort that out, and then we'll wrap her up.
Roger that.
Oh,
There you go.
Got her.
Yeah.
Took less time than I would have. I'd be there for 10 minutes figuring it out.
Yeah. That's the one shitty thing about the Bluetooth ones, right? You're like never really know the power level.
Yeah, well, it is kind of shitty. They should have some sort of. Well, I guess it probably does on the computer, stuff like that, right? If you looked at them.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's that probably wraps it up. Unless there's anything else you want to really say about the company, or just one last thing to like reach out to. I'm not sure if any geologists are really listening to the show yet. I would think down the road they would, but really this goes back to the, someone's applying for a job, and why wouldn't someone be, hey, Alpha Drilling, and maybe this comes up, but it adds to that level of what you're going for. You said you want to be real transparent with the guys and the clients, and like what better way than this, right?
100%, man. 100%. Yeah. If anybody wants to reach out, you can check out our website at www.alphadrilling.ca, and check it out.
Sweet.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man. It was a
lot,
really
Jason.
interesting story, and too bad Kirby couldn't be on here. Maybe down the road we'll touch base and see what he has to say about things.
100%, man. 100%. Thanks, guys, for having me. It was a blast. Enjoyed it.
Good.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have a good year. But
Yeah.
Take care, man.
Later.
I'm a diamond drilling roughneck working nowhere near a town. When I get out, I'll scream and shout.